Llorona. They say that on certain nights, when the wind doesn't sound quite right, and the dogs suddenly stop barking and stare at nothing, you can hear the crying of a woman who doesn't belong to this world anymore. They call her La Llorona, the weeping woman. Long ago, when the city was more village than city, there was a woman whose beauty made everyone turn their heads. She always walked by the river in her white dress, perfectly clean, perfectly pressed, her hair braided, her face calm. And behind her, always her children, little, well-dressed, hair brushed like something out of a painting. Some people said she'd fallen in love with a rich man, a landowner, maybe a soldier. No one really agrees. But everyone knew one thing. He never married her. He kept her hidden. His real wife was the one he showed in public, her. He only visited at night. One night, the woman waited for him by the road right where it curved near the river. She saw his horse coming in the dark, hooves echoing on the dirt, his cape flowing behind him. But he wasn't alone. He rode with a well-dressed lady at his side, laughing, holding on to his arm, his wife. The woman ran toward him, heart pounding. She just wanted to ask him why he hadn't come, why he didn't see his children anymore. The horse stopped for a second. He looked at her and didn't even bother to look into her eyes. With one angry shove, he pushed her away from the horse. "Get out of my way!" he shouted. "You and your children mean nothing to me." The horse kept going. The sound of hooves faded down the road, and with it, the last little piece of hope she had left. She stood in the middle of the road for a long time, eyes empty, heart shattered, hands hanging at her sides. Then, very slowly, she turned around. She walked back home. Her children were asleep, curled up on the bed. She looked at them one by one, caressed their hair, wiped their foreheads gently like a goodbye. She didn't say out loud. Then she took them in her arms. They were half asleep, confused, their little heads resting on her shoulders. The night was cold. The river whispered in the dark, "Mama, where are we going? Mama, I'm cold." She didn't answer. Her jaw was clenched, her eyes red, tears mixing with rage. At the riverbank, she stopped. The moon lit the water like broken glass. She hugged all three of them at once, so tight it hurt, as if she never wanted to let them go. And then, she pushed them into the water. They kicked, they screamed, they called out for her. "Mama! Mama, help!" Little hands clawed at the air, at her dress, at nothing. The river swallowed their voices. In a few moments, it was over. Only the sound of the water remained, dark, slow, and cold. She stared at the river, breathing hard, chest shaking. Only then did she realize what she'd done. What have I done? She grabbed her hair, pulled and screamed, a scream so deep and broken that the birds flew out of the trees in terror. "My children! Hey, my children!" She ran through the streets like a mad woman, her wet dress clinging to her body, her bare feet bleeding on the stones. She knocked on doors, ripped at curtains, looked for them in every shadow. My children. Where are my children? No one opened. No one wanted to see her like that. At dawn, they found her by the riverbank in her white dress, soaked and filthy, eyes wide open, staring at nothing. Dead. They buried her far from the water. They thought that would be the end, but a mother who kills her own children doesn't rest easily. They say she didn't go to heaven, she didn't go to hell either. She got stuck somewhere in between, condemned to search for her children for all eternity. That's why, when the night is too quiet and the wind sneaks under doors and through cracked windows, you can hear her crying in the distance, a long, broken wail that chills your bones. Hey, my children. Some insist that if you hear her cry far away, she's actually very close. And if you hear her very close, she might still be far, because she's searching. They say she walks along riversides, canals, old streets, bridges. Sometimes people see her, a tall woman dressed in white, her dress dragging in the mud, hair long and tangled, face hidden. She doesn't walk, she glides, her feet don't make a sound, just a soft swish of wet cloth on the ground. First, you feel the cold, not normal cold, the cold that crawls up your spine and bites the back of your neck. Then you smell her, a strange smell, dirty river water, old flowers, freshly dug earth. Only then do you hear her crying, "Hey, my children." If she passes near you and doesn't notice you, you might live to tell the story, but some people say she doesn't just wander. She looks for replacements. If you meet her, if your children or teenagers playing near a river at night, if you like walking alone along dark streets, if you live near an old canal or lake, you may hear her. They say that if she sees a child alone, she'll get closer, crying, confused, desperate. She might mistake them for one of her own if she asks, "Have you seen my children?" Answer her. Say no. Say you haven't. Because if you stay silent, frozen in fear if you don't answer, she'll think you're hiding them, and then they say she'll grab your arm with fingers cold and strong as death, pull you into the dark, drag you to the water, to the river, the lake, the canal, to the place where she drowned her own children. And from that night on, one more voice will join her wail. So, if you ever hear a woman crying outside your window at night, don't open it to look, because if she's closer than you thought, it might already be too late. If you made it all the way to the end of this story, it means you walked with me along the river, heard a mother drown her own children, and listened to her voice still crying in the dark. My children. Now imagine this. You close this video, turn off the lights, and the house goes quiet. Then somewhere outside your window you hear a woman crying, not shouting, just crying, soft, broken, getting closer. If at any moment during this story you felt the urge to look over your shoulder, to check the window, to make sure you were really alone, then you belong here. This channel is called Echoes of Shadows, because the stories don't end when the video stops. They stay with you, in the dark, in the quiet, in that moment right before you fall asleep. Before you leave, do two things. Subscribe, Echoes of Shadows. Turn on the bell, so the next legend finds you. When the house is silent, the lights are off, and the only sound you hear is the wind outside your window. Because tonight, you just heard about La Llorona. But one of these nights, when you're lying in bed and you hear a woman crying far away, you won't be sure if it's just a story you remember, or if she finally came to your street. Welcome to Echoes of Shadows, where the stories don't haunt the channel, they haunt you.